Want to send some love to Isaiah Thomas. When he's at the apex of his game, he is one of the top 30 most exciting guys in the league to watch just because he is that short. But, I mean, he gives a lot of us short guys dreams, man. I think I might be an inch taller than Isaiah Thomas. I'm like 5'9", 5'10". And Isaiah Thomas gives me, man, he gives me hope, man. You know, maybe I could have been in the NBA because that dude is balling and he's in the league out of Washington. I've always respected how he's never given up, and that mentality just continues to be with him throughout his career, right? He just won't give up. That's been his mentality. That's why he's coming back from another hip surgery, right? So Isaiah's been out for a little minute with another hip procedure. So let's go backwards real quick and just kind of catch you up on what happened with Isaiah. So we remember 2 playoffs ago, right? Isaiah Thomas, you know, he lost his sister in a car accident. God rest her dead. Right before the playoffs started. Remember, I think he came back around game 3. Remember, Boston was the number 1 seed. You know, they had big expectations. It was them in Cleveland. And, you know, we knew they were going to face off, right? He came back in like the 3rd game of the first round against the Boston Celtics, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on that. I'm sorry, against the Chicago Bulls. He was on Boston. Against the Chicago Bulls. That's what it was. And remember, Isaiah Thomas, he gave all he had. But his hip, he had injured his hip earlier that season. I believe he went up against Karl-Anthony Towns, if I'm not mistaken. And he injured his hip around the All-Star break that year. He played on it. It was, you know, it was heading into a contract year, you know, or a year before the contract year. He knew he needed to prove to Boston that he was the guy. He was averaging like 28. He was in the MVP race that year. He was going hard. Dude was hooping, man. So fast forward, he plays. The Celtics get to the Eastern Conference Final. They match up against Cleveland, and his body just gives out on him. Just gave out on him. It just was enough. And he goes down. So he's thinking, okay, all I got to do is kind of get my body together. I'll be back with the Celtics. Maybe we go get another piece, you know, a piece or two, and then Gordon Hayward or something like that, and then we'll be ready to make another run. Well, Kyrie Irving became available, and the Boston Celtics did the right thing, and they made a trade for Kyrie Irving, and Isaiah Thomas got shipped to Cleveland, and he wasn't ready to go, and he wasn't ready till like January. And then when he got back to Cleveland, I mean, it's almost trade deadline, and LeBron's getting impatient. He knows he doesn't have enough, and you know, Dan Gilbert is back in the corner because LeBron is a free agent to be, and you want to please him and try to keep him there. And they pretty much trade every piece of their team the day before the trade deadline, and LeBron gets his help, and guess who gets traded? Isaiah Thomas got traded to the Lakers. So then he finally gets a groove going with the Lakers towards the end of the season. They gave him some minutes just to see if he could prove himself and help him out as he was, you know, becoming a free agent. The Lakers weren't playing for anything, and Lonzo was hurt down the stretch. So they give Isaiah some minutes, and he finally gets it together. Then he injures his hip again. So the following offseason, that last summer, he's rehabilitating, and he finally gets a call and signs a 1 year with the Denver Nuggets, right? I want to make something clear. Because Isaiah Thomas got hurt, he probably cost himself over $100 million. He was on schedule. Boston was going to have to pay him a supermax, over $100 million in that deal. I think Boston lucked up, and it's just unfortunate for Isaiah. His body just wouldn't work with him, man. So his body is shot, right? And now he's on this Denver Nuggets team. They signed him, 1 year deal. He has been on the bench. He's been a cheerleader thus far, and he's finally about ready to go. So here's the news aspect of the story. Isaiah Thomas will probably make his debut between February the 11th and the 13th. I believe between those dates, the Denver Nuggets have the Sacramento Kings and the Miami Heat. So he is slated to make one of those games. And what they want to do, Mike Maloney company over down there in Denver, they want to get him one game in, try to, you know, catch his wind a little bit, let him have the All-Star break, and then when he comes back from All-Star week break, during the All-Star break, he can just kind of train and understand what it feels like to be in a basketball game. It's been a little minute for him. You know, again, you know, it takes guys who are just coming into the preseason after off-season. It takes them a month sometimes to get their feet under them, let alone a guy who's been away from the game. Isaiah hasn't even did a 5-on-5 scrimmage yet. He's supposed to do that like this week. In the next week or so, he'll be doing 5-on-5s. So you know he doesn't have conditioning. They're going to try to get him 1 or 2 games in before All-Star break. And then after that, he should be ready to go. Here's another problem that Isaiah Thomas is going to face, though. I'll tell you this. And he probably didn't think this when he signed with Denver, or maybe he knew. The Denver Nuggets got too many guards right now for Isaiah Thomas to find rotation. Between Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Malik Beasley, Will Barr, you just played him, and Monte Morris. When is Isaiah Thomas going to get minutes? You already played Will Barton. Jamal Murray has been a focal point. Gary Harris has been a focal point. Malik Beasley and Monte Morris have been pleasant surprises. Where are you going to find time for a 5'8 shooting guard? They're competing for the number 1 seed in the West. Not a lot of time to be letting Isaiah get his feet wet and losing basketball games when you're competing against the Warriors. Look, the Nuggets don't have a real chance at beating the Warriors in the playoffs. We know that. But the best thing they can do is get home court and see what happens if they can make it to the Western Conference Finals. So you definitely want to at least try your best to be as high a seed as possible and try to compete against the Warriors as a 1 seed. So I don't know when they're going to find time to just work Isaiah back in the lineup, and I don't know where he fits in. The best thing going for Denver, they blow a lot of teams out. So there will be time in a lot of blowouts for him to get some clock. But other than that, man, I think now his biggest issue is not getting his feet, not getting his conditioning down, but finding minutes on the court. Isaiah Thomas is set to make his return. I wish him nothing but the best, though. Between February the 11th and February the 13th, coming off a hip procedure, man, I just hate this for him, man. I just hate that his body gave out for him. Over $100 million lost, man. Oh, makes me sick to my stomach. Oh, man. Thank y'all so much for the time, love, support. I don't take it for granted. Salute. I'm out. I came from nothing, but I want everything God has for me. I interview celebrities. I talk sports. I still represent the culture.
I got the kids. They are now tuned in.
Yo, we locked in right now, Mr.
Telefera.
Mr. Telefera.
Mr. Telefera.
Mr. Telefera.
Shout out to Mr. Telefera.
You watching Mr. Telefera TV.
Mr. Telefera TV, here with the Triple B's, you can't do nothing but win.